On this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast, we have got Seth Isch and his daughter Izzy and his son Eli come on the podcast and talk to us about those Red Ruby Hardtime English dogs. I think you're really going to enjoy the podcast. It's Seth and I have been friends for quite a few years, and if you're an English fancier, then you're going to hear some names that you're pretty familiar with and names of dogs that you recognize that the Isches have been hunting for a number of years. You're also going to hear from two up-and-coming hunters in Eli and Izzy, and the way that Seth is getting them involved in hunting and the outdoors is just admirable and something that we all need to strive for, and there's a good message there. But this is just a good old-fashioned conversation, tailgate talk with a few coon hunters that are talking about old times and the history of dogs and stuff like that. Before we get to that interview, we talk a lot about how we can make a difference, and there is a way for you to make a difference with Freedom Hunters. You can find their link from our website. If you haven't been to our website, that web address is www.houndsmanxp.com. Go in there, find Freedom Hunters. It's on the partnership page on our website, and you can select Freedom Hunters, and you can check out how you can support a great organization that is still putting America's warriors back in the field, reconnecting them with hunting and outdoor adventures. One last thing. While you're on that website, check out our Patreon page. We'll be giving away a lot of prizes. Make sure you're watching our social media platforms and getting those prize packages, the information on those, what we're going to be giving away. And but make sure you're signing up there at Patreon. Hey, we're here to talk to Seth Isch and his daughter Izzy and Eli, and just hear some good old coon hunting stories and the history of some historical English dogs. So stay tuned, folks. It's going to be a good podcast, good interview, and let's get to it. There's no doubt. I mean, this is a scary time, and it's a deal where a lot of people are running scared, and I think the media is doing a lot of things to fuel that fire, but
I agree.
They're just, they want to focus on the negative all the time. Part of it is so that people are aware and they're not reckless. I mean, you can't really blame them when you see a bunch of kids down on the beach in Florida acting like nothing's going on and then bringing that crap home to grandma and grandpa, if it's possible. So, a little bit of common sense would curb a lot of this, but I saw a thing on Facebook the other day. It's like, if common sense is going to solve this problem, most of y'all can't handle that.
We're in a bad way.
Yeah. This is an uphill. Yeah. This is an uphill battle.
It's been like a extended spring summer vacation because they just canceled schools here. For the rest of the year. I think they did it 2 days ago, and so it's a extra long summer spring. I guess way to look at it. Oh.
Well, they've been cheating the kids on summer for the last 5 years anyway. When we were kids, you got out on Memorial Day and didn't go back until Labor Day, and these kids get like a month and a half off if they don't have snow days. And then, then you're that's no summer vacation. Heck, that's like a long spring break or something.
Spring break. Yep. Yeah, I agree.
You can't even use them to work in the garden with only a month and a half. I mean, you need a good 3 months of summer slave labor.
They've been working on my sticks. I need them here a little longer yet. So, yeah, that'd work out great.
That's right. Yeah. Teach them what the good old days are all about.
Yeah, they learned yesterday after about 3 hours of picking up sticks. I said, well, you only got all day tomorrow to do it. You'll be done. So,
we had to talk about that. That was one of the things where the kids, all of them would go out and I'd have them do stuff like that. And I was like, you can either get this 1 hour job done in an hour, or you can do it for the next 3 days and turn it into 25 hours. It's up to you, but it's going to get done.
Yeah. exactly right.
Yeah. Well, we've got
Stuff comes down.
do what?
Eli's over here with his thumbs down.
Oh yeah, imagine. Yeah. So, Seth, I'm glad that you decided to come on the podcast and talk to us today, and I'm glad that you got Eli and Izzy in here, your kids, and I haven't talked to Eli since I was up there hunting, but it was like I keep track of you on Facebook and stuff. I keep track of Izzy and her hunting and stuff too, so we stay connected that way. But
Yeah.
So how's everything up in the hinterlands of the Great White North?
Doing good. Just not going anywhere with all this stuff going on. Just we've been fishing about every day and just kind of doing outside spring cleaning and treating some coon evenings and about it.
Yeah. Yep. Well, let's get some proof that Izzy is on here. How you doing, Izzy? Are you doing good?
Yep.
Good. How old are you now, Izzy?
I'm 11.
11. But you're going to be 12. When are you going to be 12?
In July.
July. So that's coming up. And then
Yeah.
Eli, how are you?
Good.
Good. Good deal. How old are you now, Eli?
About ready to turn 7.
Getting ready to turn 7. Good deal.
Next week.
Oh, that's coming up right now. So do you guys like, Seth, you guys just moved to a new house here not too long ago. And Seth, or Eli, you like where you're living now?
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to do there? Besides work. I know you like to work.
No. Probably ride 4-wheelers.
Ride 4-wheelers. Yeah, talk a little. Move a little closer to the phone and talk just a little bit quieter.
Ride 4-wheelers.
Okay. Have you got room to ride 4-wheelers and stuff there?
Yeah, we have a lot of paths.
Cool. That's good stuff. What about that pond? Do you catch any fish in the pond?
Oh, the one day I did not catch any.
Yeah. Just one day? That's a pretty good pond then if you only have one day where you didn't catch any. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of fish in there.
Good. Have you jumped in the pond yet this year?
No.
You know, I'll tell you a funny story. We've got a pond here, and my daughter's birthday is March 25th, and our ice is usually gone by that time if we have ice that year. But when my kids were growing up, they had a tradition that on Emma's birthday, they would go up and jump in the pond on March 25th. And it was cold, cold.
Have to do that next week for Eli.
No.
That's right. Today, what's wrong with today?
Oh, it's probably way too cold out.
Oh, it's not too cold out. You're not going to die. It'll just be cold for a minute. You can run back to the house. You'll be warmed up by the time you get there. I'm gonna get.
Maybe the bar, because we have a
I'm gonna get you
out there.
Yeah. I'm gonna get you in trouble, is what I'm gonna do. Well, Seth, let's talk about some coon dog stuff, and that's why we're here. Is some Houndsman XP stuff. You know, I don't know how or when or how I got to know you. I think I probably was following you on social media and paying attention to that line of English dogs that you're hunting up there, and have been raising for several generations, and I think that's where it kind of drew me in. I think at one time I was thinking about considering getting an English dog, and I'm still not sure why I didn't, but but I've had English dogs in the past. I am like so you get these people that get deeply entrenched in Ford versus Chevy and steel chainsaws versus Husqvarna. The only breed of hound that I have not hunted or owned is a black and tan, and I don't really count the leopard as a hound. So it's a newly. I'm gonna get all kinds of hate mail for that one.
Yeah, my dad and my uncle and a buddy of ours that we've known for forever, it seems like, but they made a cross back in like 1987, just an old line of English dogs, and still carrying on that, same line. I kind of carry two different lines here. That line there was, my uncle, he started it. It was kind of like the Red Ruby is what he named his.
Mm-hmm.
And his name's Jeff Cook. And Jeff's, he started a dog named Rex. And my dad had one. His name was BJ. And everybody around here kind of had one of them, from that cross. And
your dad's name is Steve, right?
Steve, yep. He's 73. He's still hunting. And but he had one of them, and my Uncle Jeff had one, and Jeff's name, his dog name was Rex. And, so I kind of grew up a lot hunting with Rex, and just a stay put tree dog, didn't matter. I mean, just pressure proof. I mean, you look it up in the dictionary, that was him. I mean, hunted with him for years. I think he lived to be like 16 or 17 when he finally passed away. But, I've kept that line going. And by doing that, I got a dog named Ringo.
Well, let's back up. Let's back up because I want to know where the Rex dog came from. What's behind him?
There was still some blood you see today. It was the Bescher's Blue Boy 2. They call it Junior, what most people call him. They bred him the Indian Creek Windy. And, you got some Hardtime Spec, just the old foundation, English dogs. And
Spec was Spec was controversial back in the day, though.
Yeah.
I had an English female that was heavy spec bred. She looked like a spec bred English dog. She had a red head and blue body spots, and a hard tree dog. She was extremely hard tree dog. And So Spec. Let's talk about Spec a little bit because we may have some listeners that don't know some of the history on that. We're not trying to be controversial. We're just trying to be factual on Spec. And you probably have more information and know more about how he became an English stud and stuff like that. So can you kind of give us an overview on it anyway?
That was a little before my time, but I am friends with Ed Bates on Facebook and talk to him now and then. Super nice guy. So I'd probably have to get old Ed, get a little better info. But, if I remember right, I think he was registered as Walker than English. I'm not sure on all of that, but man, he's just everywhere in the background of these English dogs. And wouldn't have been for him and Junior, I don't think this breed wouldn't be where it's at today. The whole breed itself. But those are my, about my two favorites, was those two. They just, to me was get deep, they like to be alone. That's what I like to hunt. That style hound, still hunting that style now. Yeah. But,
and we'll talk about Crow, I'm sure, later on. But that's the thing I remember about Crow is, I mean, when you turn him loose, he's looking to get away from you and stays busy, moves around good, and comes up with a coon. And he doesn't care if you have to walk 200 yards or if you have to walk 2 miles. He's going to go do his thing.
Yep. That's what I always strive to keep here. Susie and Ringo and Pearl and Charlie, all them dogs. That's pretty much how they was. And the hawk dog we got now, that's how he is. You cut him and throws dirt in your face and couldn't be alone somewhere in the world. And but going back a little bit there, about that cross, I got that dog, that Ringo dog back. I'm thinking it was 1998. He was a little bit shy of 2 years old. And I remember hunting him one night for my uncle, and he was 5 months old, and I could never imagine sending somebody out that was 17 years old with a 5-month-old pup saying, "Hey, go hunt him tonight."
Right.
And but I flipped him. I believe I flipped him 4 times. He treed 3 singles in a den. He was 5 months old by himself, nothing with him.
Yeah.
And I was all pumped. And the next spring, I ended up getting him bought. And kind of that dog, he's the one that, put me on the map. Kind of walked me through everything pretty much. Yeah, of course. Back in 2000, which had been, about 2 years after I bought him, he took me to the top 10 of the UKC world. Didn't really have no clue what was going on. 2 rookies. Me and my dad going to he was up to Missouri to the zones and had no clue how none of that stuff went on. And then come back, made it through there and come back and the finals was at Columbia City and made it all the way to 9th with him. And I think I was 20.
Yeah.
And I got some semen frozen on old Ringo, and my Susie dog, she goes back to old Ringo and all them, so we still got that.
Was
still
Ringo
keep that line of dog?
I can't remember. I know I've seen a picture of him, but describe Ringo as far as what he looked like. Was he a red tick?
Yeah, a lot of the hunts I'd go to, you got old Yeller tonight.
Yeah.
He was always kind of that yellowish or red color, kind of colored like a light deer.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's built, real muscular, a real thick dog. Had a real pretty head on him.
Yeah.
Just kind of reminded you of the old style quarter horse. Kind of like that. He was a beast, man. He was a coon treer.
How did he?
I think he lived.
How did he do it? How did he treat coons? What was his style?
Like magic. I don't know. He had that fire. You cut him every drop. He threw dirt in your face. He was a hustler. I mean, and he was somewhere. He's going to be somewhere treed with a coon. I mean, he just deadly accurate. Always by himself unless they backed him. He didn't have that big, loud mouth, but I could always hear him good.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a good carrying mouth. He didn't have no great big horn on him, but he had a coon on him, every time. He wasn't one of them that got better after they was dead and gone. He was just always good, and everybody knew it. And I'm not bragging on him; it's just how he was. He was just a good one, and that was a tough one there. When he died, that was tough to see him go. I think he was like 14 when he passed. I was still hunting now and then.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that's
what kind of track.
What
kind of track dog was he, Seth? I mean, we're talking about the foundation. Yeah, we're talking about the foundation of your kennel here. So I want to know what what you saw in that dog to collect him and so what kind of track dog was he?
Yeah, good track dog. Opened up good, as soon as he smelled track, as soon as he smelled track. I would say he was, medium-nosed dog. He moved a track real good. And when he was young, he had the wildest sounding locate you could ever imagine. It was terrible. And he wasn't until he was like 3.5, 4 years old before he really came into a good locate. But, everybody knew what he was doing. He'd throw that big, like a big squeal. It was terrible. But he came into that locate, and but yeah, he could hunt him in any conditions. I mean, snow, wind and rain was always his favorite. I mean, we went to a hunt and it was really nasty, windy and rain. It was pretty well game over for him. But yeah, he just. A lot of fun, a lot of memories with him. So definitely, he taught me so much. It crazy to think back. How much I learned just from hunting him, and set kind of set my standards. High. For the next dogs that I've had. If they wasn't kind of in that.
See, I worked
range.
I worked in reverse. I started out with the real sorry ones. And and kept feeding those pot lickers, for the first 10 years before I saw a real coon dog. And then after I got that, it's like, okay, yeah, we can do this a little different. So,
yeah, it happens. I mean, but sometimes guys are better off to do it that way to kind of, how to say it, to
you learn a lot more.
Enjoy them a little more, yeah, and enjoy them a little more when you do get that good one.
When you the good ones, the good natural ones, they don't. There's two trains of thought. I mean, they tell you that you don't have to train a good dog, but if you can figure out how to train a bad one, then you should never ruin a good one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got we got Ringo, and then let's walk it on through from Ringo real quick, and then we're going to shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about the background of your dogs, because you put a lot of a lot of your effort and a lot of your heart and soul and stuff that you've put into that, and so we got Ringo, and then where'd you go from there?
Had Ringo, he was getting some age on him, and done a pile of winning with him. I mean, he was always just a big high scoring dog. I mean, he really did. He always put up big scores, and then I think it was 2002. Had a chance to buy 2 females. That's kind of a funny story. Chance to buy 2 females, and the one I wasn't even wanting. It was the other female that I was wanting. So I had to drive to southern Kentucky and meet a guy. And so me and my wife got in the vehicle, and I think it was on a Friday night, and took off, and drove all the way down, picked them up, come home, started hunting them. And the female that I didn't want ended up being Pearl. And
no kidding.
The more I hunted her, the better she got, and the better she got. Did some fine tuning. The other female, I ended up getting rid of her.
The one you wanted.
Pounding them. Yeah, the one I wanted, yeah. And just kept pounding old Pearl, and man, she was getting better and better and better. There in the beginning, man, me and her didn't get along very well at all. But she finally come to my way of thinking, and man, she just didn't hardly ever make any mistakes, and that's how she won so much. She was nothing flashy at all. She was chopped both ways, but she had a triple chop locate. Every breath tree dog, didn't have a big mouth at all, but she was always by herself. Every time you turned her loose, she was alone somewhere with a coon. And, you just kind of had to wait for a dog or a handler to make a mistake. And then you knew, you was good to go, because she just wasn't going to make them mistakes. But I placed her 3 times. I think I qualified her, if I remember right, I think I qualified her 4 times for the UKC World Hunt. And I placed her in the top 20 twice and got in the Final 4 once. She was World Champion English twice. And the 4th time, she had come in heat right the night before the zones. So we bowed out, didn't go. But and then and in between all that, I raised a couple litters with her. That would have been 06. Back up. 05. I was at a hunt with Pearl, qualified her for the world. We was at Hamilton, Indiana. And I was walking in the door, and Shane Groves was walking out, and he stopped me, and he said, "Hey, found you an English dog you need to buy." And I said, "Nah, I've got enough." He goes, "You need to go look at him." And I said, "Well, who is it?" And he said, "Old Charlie 7.
Yeah.
I don't need another one, And he said, "I'm telling you to go look at him." Anyhow, you know how it is, put a bug in your ear, then it sits there and just about drives you nuts. So I was at work one day and pulled out an old Coonhound bloodline. Sure enough, old Charlie had in there. And so I called on him, and and I called my brother Sean and asked him to go in partners on him, and he did. And we bred Pearl to him in '06, and that cross right there it was just amazing. I don't know how many of them titled out that first cross. I mean, there was a bunch. You know, I'm just guessing, going to say 6, 7, something like that. I mean, there was a lot of them, and then we redid it again in '07 later on, and kind of the same thing. It just really boomed, and Charlie got hot. We was breeding him a lot. He just threw a lot of nice hounds. They're just coon dogs. Just independent, hard going, and then.
Well, let's talk about Charlie. Let's talk about Charlie, your 7 dog there for a minute.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Shane
Groves, that guy, he's something else. He's a good friend of mine. I love going up and hunting with Shane and stuff. He's, if you go hunting with Shane Groves and don't have a good time, it is your fault.
I agree.
Yeah,
he's so funny too.
Oh man, he's a hoot. We have a blast when we get together and hunt. But so he tells you about this Charlie 7 dog. Now let's talk about.
Yep.
Where'd he come from? I want to get really kind of take an in-depth look at this, because you went out and purchased this dog because Shane told you about him. You did some research, but what was there that you decided you wanted to own this dog? How was he bred?
When, he's bred kind of like how we like him. He was Wilcox. He was off Old St. Nick, Larry Wilcox,
okay,
which has been around forever.
Right.
And bottom side.
Mm-hmm.
Evans Red Joe, goes back, yep. Goes back to the junior and Wendy. Bottom side, which was a dog that Sean always loved, my brother Sean, named Shepherd and Johnson's Duke. And I think that's the part that won over for Sean, was having old Duke on that bottom side, because he's always had a knack for them tricolor dogs.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, just kind of studied that pedigree, and I just didn't think we could go wrong, adding him in. And
how did his pedigree stack up against Pearl's? Because it sounds like you bought him for the purpose of not only breeding a Pearl, but that was definitely on your list of things you wanted to do. So what did you see in the Charlie 7 pedigree that thought, man, that might work right here? When I look at a pedigree, I look for family traits and things that I like, and then try to match that top and bottom. So, I'll look at a stud dog pedigree and the female that I'm going to breed, or vice versa, and try to find those common traits that I know are going to suit me and give me those types of dogs that I'm looking for. So what was in that pedigree that you saw?
Well, I knew on like Pearl, her mom was, just kind of a freak reproducer. You just heard of, I did some background checking on a lot of the dogs out of her from the couple different studs she was bred to, and there was just a bunch of them. And the way Charlie was bred, Charlie had only been bred just a couple times,
mm-hmm.
when we got him, and just the way his pedigree was loaded, I thought, there's no way that he cannot, reproduce. And with having old Pearl's mom, and then Pearl was on a dog named Hardtime Moses.
Yep.
And, Moses was a good reproducer. And,
so was it going to be a line bred, or, there's some line common ancestry back in that pedigree?
Yeah.
A couple generations?
Yeah, nothing terrible close. There was no, half brother, half sister, nothing
mm-hmm.
like that. Just to me, it was just a good balanced, two pedigrees together. But, I was looking kind of too, Charlie had the monster mouth. Pearl didn't. Thought he could help on that. They were both, loners. So you're about guaranteed to have some independence. And both good tree dogs. Both very, very well mannered. I thought, well, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
I never would have dreamed that what was going to happen. We, after we made that, and I did quite a bit of winning with old Charlie there. Won the Invitational with it. Actually, the year I won the Invitational, I had to hunt against Sean. He was hunting a female out of Ringo, so I had to hunt against him. Yeah, I mean, he was just easy to call. He just had that big roar on the ground. I mean, just so he'd locate. I mean, anybody that you didn't have to coon hunt to know what he was doing. I mean, it was just
yeah.
But he had that big gear under him, and the older he got, because we didn't buy him until he was probably coming 6.
No kidding.
Everybody always told me how wild he was
mm-hmm.
when he was young, and we just got him home, and he was really heavy. He was probably around 85 pounds, and got some weight knocked off of him, and just started hunting him steady, and he kind of just, to me, he calmed down, and he just had coon treeing on his mind, and just a lot of fun. Qualified him for the world a couple of times. We got in the zones, we got beat, but he was a fun one, and you could breed him to anything. I mean, anything, and he was going to throw. But I don't know how old he would have been. His health kind of started getting bad, and just kind of breeding a female here and there. And a guy brought a female up that was a really good reproducer, and he couldn't get the job done. And I said, I got another male over here, that we've just bred him once. I said, some pups are young, they're showing good promise, and that was the Hoss dog. He was off of Charlie and Pearl. And that female's name was Kay's Red Lady. And when we made that cross, when them pups started getting old enough, the first cross from Hoss was just on fire, and almost every one of them pups in that litter was cranking. And I told Sean, I said, I think we might have something here, and it just he just exploded too. He was just like 7. You could breed anything to Hoss, and he just threw. They were real young. They're very independent. But he I think he ended up siring about 250 pups. But
Hoss,
what was that?
Hoss did? Hoss sired 250 pups?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you'd bred that many females with him.
We would have bred a lot more, and kind of the same thing. He ended up getting prostate cancer really bad, and we didn't even know it. He acted fine. Went out there one day, took him over to Beitzel's to get him collected the second time, and Dean held up they kind of collected him in that bag, held it up. He says, he's done.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, did you get much? And I looked, I'm like, oh boy, and that beaker in that bag was clear full. Here was prostate fluid. And wasn't long after that, he died. And he was only like 8 when he passed away. So, I mean, and I think he's got over 50 pups that are titled or somewhere right in there. He's at least at 50 pups.
Right. Right.
And I think he's the only English sire to produce 2 PKC Platinum champions.
Yeah, we can.
So
you've said it a couple times. You talked about Pearl's mom being a reproducer, and then you talked about Hoss's. I think you said Hoss's dam was a reproducer. So, how much stock do you put into that female? And the reason I ask that question is because it seems like you always get this big debate, and with dabbling in some stud dog business a little bit. One thing I've noticed about having a stud dog is they'll get all the credit and all the blame, regardless of what you breed to them. You breed a good one, you breed a female to them, and they turned out superstars. The female gets very little credit, but if you breed that female and you end up with duds, then you get all the blame too. So I'm curious what your opinion is. You've been breeding these line of dogs for a long time. Tell me what your opinion is on the importance of the female that you put under these studs.
A lot. I think you got to have a female with a good, proven, reproductive background. With a mom, was a good reproducer of your female. But I've bred two, already two of the best coon dogs together, and it was a dud. I mean, you just stand there with your mouth hanging open, like, what the heck?
How did this happen?
But
yeah.
It's there's times it's a guessing game. Like with Charlie and Pearl, it was like hitting a lottery. With them two. I just went by pedigree and how they were in the woods, and who would have ever guessed that those two would have been put in the Hall of Fame by the English Association. That was a big honor. And both of them the same year. Just still in awe over that. But anyhow, they got to have, like Pearl's mom. And I didn't know this when I bought her. But after looking and checking with different people, with dogs off of Pearl's mom, seeing what a good reproducer she was, and the way Pearl was bred, I thought, well, maybe we got a chance here. And just when I bred her to Charlie, I would have never dreamed it'd been what it was. But yeah, we there's three of us brothers. There's me and then Scott and then Sean, and all three of us had one of those. And then my dad, he ended up getting one a couple years later, and that was pretty neat. That we all got one from that cross. And all of those were titled except Scott's. He ended up dying at a vet's office, and he needed 5 points to be night champion, or all of us would have had a titled dog from that. And that goes to show, how dominant a cross that was. But to find a good female, that reproduces like that, that's hard to do.
Do you think Pearl and Charlie got in the Hall of Fame based on their reproducing ability together? Or tell us, because a lot of the Hall of Fame stuff, and we've got listeners that they don't even keep pedigrees on their dogs. So what does it take to get dogs into that Hall of Fame? You've got a male and a female that went in the same year. So what does it take to get them there, and how important is it?
Yeah, they I can't think what year that even was. It's been, it don't matter, I guess, 4 years ago now, 3 years ago. Time goes so fast. They both had good hunt records. They both did a lot of winning. I know that goes into play there, with Pearl, being in that world hunt, 05, 06, she was world champion English, and then 08, she was, gotten that Final Four and placed third. Charlie was, he won there at English Days, a few different times, and gotten the world hunt there a couple times, the zones, and just, won the Ohio State hunt and different things like that. And then, reproductive part of it, it just, to me, it takes a combination, of winning and reproduction.
Yep. And I think that's so how important is that for your breeding program, seeing those dogs in that pedigree? Do you try to go back to that and capture some of those traits, concentrate your breeding there? I mean, it's a rare thing for you to have. It's a rare thing to have a male and a female in the Hall of Fame, but then it's also even a rare thing for it to happen in the same year. So, what are you doing? What are you doing with that fame and fortune right there? You just bought a new farm. I know that.
We've been blessed.
And you're on the Houndsman XP podcast. That's the biggest.
Yeah,
that's the big. That's the biggest prize. Is look where it got you. You're right here on the Houndsman XP podcast.
Yeah. Well, and to pause the dog stuff for a minute. Appreciate what you guys do. For this, because getting the coon hunting out there and letting people listen to it. Because man, it's tough. It's tough to find land to hunt and to get people to let you go and be on their property at different hours of the night, and it's getting tougher and tougher every year, and everybody's got to take care of other people's land and respect people, and don't drive back if it's muddy or stuff like that.
Right.
But if you guys doing this, it's awesome. Getting me and Eli, we was listening to one of them podcasts earlier. It was an older gentleman. I think he had blue ticks. I'm not sure, but he was giggling over here because the guy come out and told him he made him some raccoon from the night before, and ended up being goat meat. And so you get with both my kids, they just downloaded it earlier. And,
right. Was there our latest episode with Nubbin Moore?
Yes, that's who it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nubbin was a UKC rep, and he was also he won Autumn Oaks with the black and tan down there. I think he's moved on over to the dark side. He and Steve Field are both, for some reason, have walkers now. I'm not sure why, but so, and that's a joke. So there's plenty of good dogs of every color, and like Ed Vance says, he says, I never saw a good dog that was the wrong color, and I agree with that 100%. But we'll get to that. I want to talk to you about your family and what you guys are doing up there. Let's get through this. These dogs, with Charlie 7. What are you guys hunting now? You guys just purchased a new dog. You and Izzy are partners on the dog. Is this is this your first partnership with Izzy?
Yeah, we've had a few of them together, but
okay.
This was definitely our biggest purchase together. But we you asked earlier about this line of dogs, and we try to keep the two lines. We try to mix them together. As far as like going back to old Ringo and a buddy of mine, he's hunting a Grand Night right now off some Ringo semen. Mm-hmm. Izzy had bred her female that she had here. Oh, she had her for a few years. Her name was Lucy.
Right.
She's a pretty good reproducer. She was off a Hoss, and we bred her back to Ringo semen. And so there's still some old Ringo dogs still out there doing some winning. But like Hawk, he's the one we just bought. I bought him. He's actually off a Hardtime Awesome. Me and Izzy went up a little over a year ago and hunted with him. Tried to buy him then. He looked really good that night. Mm-hmm. And didn't get him bought. And we ended up buying him here 1st of December. And he's off a Hardtime Awesome. Then on the bottom side, he goes back to old Charlie, his grandson, to old Charlie 7. And he also has Pearl's mom on the bottom side.
No kidding.
And then a dog named Stone Cold Nick, which would be off of Saint Nick, and Charlie was off of Saint Nick.
Yep.
So how your wheels get turning. I'm thinking, well, awesome. He's a very good reproducer. You got Pearl's mom. You got Charlie down there. There's just multiple in there with him, and I thought we could add him in. You never know. Never know for sure what you're going to get, but I've had pretty good luck with that line of dogs, and never, to me, it doesn't hurt to have a little Charlie and Pearl's mom in there. So
no doubt.
So we bought him, and we bred I think four females to him right now. We got latest one we just bred Eli's female. Eli wanted to breed his female to him, and she's off of Hoss. So
okay.
The way she's bred, we're gonna have 2 shots of Charlie 7. You got 2 shots of Pearl's mom. You got Pearl in there. Hoss in there.
If I'm gonna get an English dog, I'm gonna buy it from Eli, because I already like the way that sounds. Sounds like you got. I think Eli's making some good choices that are going to carry you into the future there.
He's a smiling. But yeah, I think everybody else is thinking that too. And like I said, you never know, but the way we had, pretty good luck with that, I thought, Eli wanted to breed her to him, and I thought, well, I don't think you can go wrong. And
right.
I think was it last week we bred her to him? I think we've booked 9 pups already. So it must be catching some eyes. But
Eli, what are you going to do?
Yeah, we're going to.
Eli, what are you going to do with all your money?
keep it.
Keep it? That's a smart move right now, I can tell you that. There's no doubt. So let's talk about something, because how long have you been breeding this line of dogs, Seth? I'm going somewhere with this question, but just give us some background.
Yeah. Myself, it had been about 98.
22 years.
But, but my family has had, like the Ringo, Rex, all that, since 1987. We've kept this alive on that line there.
33 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Tell me what it's taken for you to be able to, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but tell me what it's taken for Red Ruby Hardtime English to be successful, to stay competitive, to keep producing these types of dogs. Obviously, you can't do this by yourself. So I thought that was something we could talk about, was your feelings on that subject.
Yeah, it takes a lot of help. From outside people, believing in your line of dogs, and them taking them to hunts and giving them a chance and training and, pushing them. That's a biggie, met a lot of people through this. I mean, a lot. Just had a guy call me the other night that I drew back in the later, like 2008, and hunts Walker dogs, and he booked a pup, and just we reminisced over that, that hunt there. But yeah, it takes a lot of help. I got a great family that hunts, and we try to help each other out. Got a good understanding wife that she knows what I do. So
yeah.
So he's been good about that. But yeah, dad, brothers, they're just still hunting. My dad's 73. He's still hunting. Currently looking for a good dog for him right now. His female passed away, but yeah, you just got to have a lot of help. With different people. There's a long list of them. That's hunted these dogs over the years, and
I think there's a couple. I'll throw my 2 cents of what I've seen from the people that are hunting your dogs. When I look at guys like Derek Goldman, Derek owned Buck for a while, and I can't remember how that all went down, but he owned Buck for a while. But he constantly, every time he was on social media, he was always talking about, it was never about Derek. It was always about Buck. It was about, the fact that you sold him to him. Brandon Termolin, I can't remember, he was hunting a little female that was out of your stuff. Was leading to Indiana for a while.
She was off of Pearl.
Okay.
And kind of funny, I'd actually made a half brother, half sister cross with old Pearl. I don't ever do that hardly, but just what they had there, and with Pearl's mom and all that, and made that cross. She was kind of getting some age, had a little trouble, and there was just a couple, 2 or 3 pups that lived out of that. Mm-hmm. And that little female there, her name was Heidi.
Right.
She was a good one. And
yeah, she was a good one.
I put her
drew her a couple times, and she was a nice outfit. But the thing about Brandon was, he was out there hunting a female and he owned her, but he was constantly, every time I talked to him about Heidi, he always gave the credit back to the breeders, you and your family. Hey, this is one of Isch's dogs. I've just heard that constantly over the years from different people that were hunting dogs. You listen to Rich and Kyle Emery up there. They talk about, if they were ever going to not hunt plots, and I don't know, then they would be hunting English dogs from your kennel. And so that speaks a lot to your character, but it also, I think it's effective it's a good lesson for our sport. I'll just throw a real quick example in there. My Jazz female, she's a blue tick, but she is wild and blue bred. That is Mackie Man's. She's got pounders. She's got Spanky, top and bottom. So I don't try to take credit for that. I even named the dog Lots of Grit Wild and Blue Jazz. to make sure that I'm giving credit back there. And that's the kind of teamwork and stuff that I see coming from people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah, yeah, and those guys you name, Derek and Brandon, good buddy of mine, Brent Moss, there's so many of them. Pete Cross, there's so many that, it's hunting these dogs or, was hunting them. You got to have those kind, believe in them. And, the Dot female, when I sold her and, and Crow, they went on to PKC and got pushed there, done a pile, went in there. It's just takes guys like that, that can keep rolling along, but yeah, it's, you just got to have good people surrounding, good family. Funny story. My dad, he's always been a big help, come pick us up, if we're somewhere, or gotta have somebody come get us, got too far in. Well, he's always one. I'm pretty well known to fall asleep driving at nighttime, for going very far distance at all. And, for different hunts, he wouldn't be in it. He'd be like, call me when you're done. I'll either ride along or drive you up there. And, I don't remember. I think I was at New Knoxville one night, Ohio, at a hunt, and I had to guide. Didn't have enough guides. I come back guided and won the hunt. My female blew out at the end. And, I think it was a Friday night, and I knew Dad had to be at work the next morning. So it's like 2:00 in the morning. I call him. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, sleeping. I'm like, hey, chicks treed about a mile back on the river. You'd have to walk from the road. I said, I got to leave her. He's like, I'll get her. Where's she at? I told him.
Wow.
And so, he got up. I got up out of bed, went got all his stuff on, walked her out in the middle of nowhere, got this dog, went back home, back to bed, then got back up for work, So he's always been there, to, whatever's needed. But I like Sean, always there, if you need him. But it just takes takes a good group.
It does.
Good group
and I see
to
that.
help you out.
I see that in a lot of different. I always enjoyed that, and I think it's something we don't talk about because when you get your picture taken, normally it's at a hunt, it's going to be you and your dog, and that loses a lot of backstory. But if you look at like Jeff Koons and the Redwood Plot Clan, man, if one of those guys gets on the bench for a picture, there's 10 people in that picture, and it's all the Team Redwood guys. We look down in the Appalachian Mountains, the Appalachians down there, and they're breeding those bear dogs, and they've got a hunting group, and that's how they're able to be successful. And it's a tough road to hoe when you're just out there trying to find a dog here, find a dog there, to be successful with it. And if you can get yourself into a network of a good breeding program like yours, then you're going to up your success. And that's one of the things we get questions a lot about on messages and stuff is, how do I train a coon dog, or how do I do this? And we love getting those questions. But something I think we miss too often is, man, get yourself entrenched with that group of people that are going to produce the dog that's going to suit you, and then be loyal to it. Do your part. I think it's huge. And the other thing we talk about, and I don't mean to dominate it here, but I want to comment on your dad getting up, in the middle of the night. He's what did you say, 73?
Yes.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. There is so much for the younger hunters to learn from these guys. So I'm happy to hear that he's still hunting. And there's a place for those our senior hunters out there, and I just hate to see them just retire and give it up and take up a spot on the couch or in their easy chair and not be involved because they think they can't do something. There is so much for all of us to do.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's still going. He had a new hip put in right at a year ago. He bounced right back, still. Yeah. Still going. I get him the right hound found here. He'll be back in the hunts here, and but yeah, between that, he goes. Kids go, and we all try to get together and go some. You're getting a dog ready. I'm kind of a loner then, but
yeah.
Usually it's Eli. They're usually along, and that's about it. But yeah, we all still try to get together and go. We went the other night. Just drove separate with all this stuff that's going on right now. We drove separate and still went out and had a good time and just plugging along.
Yeah, good deal. That sounds.
But
so let's talk about.
Yeah.
You've been the beneficiary of uncles, dads, people that got you into the sport. Let's talk about what you're doing with your kids. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Izzy right now. I've talked about Eli a little bit. I know he's sitting there grinning, and I'll give you a little bit of background. I went up, I don't know how long it's been, a couple years now, and met your family when they were really young. Izzy actually hunted with us that night. Eli was still a little bit too young to be out there keeping up and doing things like that. But what a great family you've got, and I'm happy to hear that Eli's in the game now, but Izzy's been in the game for a while. She had the Lucy female. She impressed me the night we hunted together. She reminded me a lot of my daughter Cora. She kept up every step, but she also knew what was going on. It wasn't she was just out there. She was invested in what was going on and took the time. She was serious about why she was out there.
We were just talking about it. Was it last night? Yeah, last night. We was talking about, when she started going along, and I said, I can remember the first place we ever took you, and it's kind of funny. It's right in the backyard where I live now.
Mm-hmm.
There's about a 50-acre woods there. We come in from the other road. My wife was along, and I had my little chick female. We cut her in there, and she just went about 100 yards and treated coon. And I remember I carried her in there. She was so tiny. Carried her in there, and it's just like that kind of set her on fire. She just always wanted to go. I can remember night guys coming here, and we go to leave. She'd be standing at the back window. We had a church pew there, a small. She'd stand there looking out the window, crying every night, and then just got bigger and bigger each year, and just would like in the summertime, I've always been off on Fridays, and I can remember we'd always go in and go to sleep, early evening, and sleep for a couple hours, and get up and hunt all night, and we've always done that, and then she got big enough, she's learning what the dog was doing, which dog would strike, and kind of teaching her how to call a dog, and when she had to call them, and then started putting her in some youth hunts, and she just started winning. She's very, very competitive, and just kind of started winning. I think female she had named Star. Is that right, Star? Yeah. She won with her at English Days, and youth hunt won the whole thing. I think that was about her first big one. Then she got to go to the youth nationals. That'd have been two years ago. She plays ball from May till October, and we was in the middle of ball season.
Yep.
And we went over to Salina at youth nationals, and she was hunting buck, and pretty well had him dialed in. We had her dialed in, and we just kind of doing some mock hunts, and certain times you kind of had to listen to him, but he was so easy to call. I mean, he's had that big. It'd be hard to find. It'd be hard to find a dog with that locate like he has. But it was on Friday night, and it was so hot. I'm thinking it was like 90-some degrees at hunt time. It was just miserable, and she stood out in front of the cast, and I just stood to the back, and she called him, for what he was doing and when she needed to, and just had a lot of comments that night, how well she knew, and how I didn't have to help her.
Right.
And,
right. Well, let's talk to Izzy a little bit. I want to talk to Izzy.
Okay. There you go.
Izzy, you remember? Yep. Do you remember when I came up and hunted with you guys? It's been a few years ago. I brought Big Country. I brought Big Country with me, and we hunted. What's that?
The bear rug you brought up.
Oh, the bear rug.
You brought your dog bear rug, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. I had to pick up that rug, and I was hauling it around the country with me. Yeah, I went up to just north of Portland there. What's that tannery up there? I can't remember the name of that. You remember what it is, Seth?
Was you at Monroe? Is that where you had it done at?
Probably.
Harvey?
Maybe. And at any rate, I pick up the bear rug, and then you and I decided to get together and hunt that night. So I was hauling dogs and bear rugs and all kinds of stuff. So I think I might even been headed up to Burkholders after that. I can't remember, but yeah, it was. I looked like a gypsy on the road. But you remember, Izzy? Do you remember? You guys cut a female loose with Big Country that first time around. Do you remember that?
It was Lucy, yeah.
Yep.
That was Lucy.
Yeah.
Yep. So I want to know, we also hunted another male pup later that night, which I remember that dog's name. Do you remember what that dog's name was?
Was it Earl?
It was. It was Ugly Earl. And I thought, man, I think you found the coon that Ugly Earl treed back that big long lane. We went back there. There were some grass strips and a flat woods back there, and we walked in, and I think you were actually the one that found Ugly Earl's coon back there on that hunt. But I want to ask you a serious question, okay?
Yeah.
So you've been doing this long enough now. You've done some winning and some youth hunts and stuff like that. What kind of dog do you like to hunt in these youth hunts?
I like the ones that just get by themselves and have the coon.
Okay. Do you like a dog that strikes pretty quick? And, how important are strike points to you?
I mean, as much points as I can get, really.
Yeah, okay, that's a good answer. You want to get all the points you can, and that means you're going to win when you can do that. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Do you like a dog that really goes deep, or do you want one that can tree coons around you, or what are you looking for there?
That will, I don't know, just tree a coon close to you if they have to go far. Okay.
Yep. Well, if they're going to get those wheels under them and go deep, they got to have a pretty good mouth on them. And if I remember Lucy, she had a pretty good mouth, but she didn't have to go real deep to tree coons either. We actually split treed on our first drop and each had a coon, but she was actually closer than Big Country was. He's more of a deep and lonely type dog too. But you bred Lucy a few times, didn't you?
Yeah, I think twice.
And what'd you breed Lucy to?
The first time was Ringo. Yeah. No.
Buck.
So it was 3 times we did it.
Times,
Yeah. So first time was Buck, and then Ringo, and then Charlie 7.
So you bred her 3 times?
Yeah.
Okay. So the
She wasn't a very good mother the first couple times.
Okay. Okay. So the Ringo cross and the Charlie 7 cross would have been semen pups then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you bred her to Buck, how many pups did she have?
I think 12 and kept 3.
Kept 3, okay. And did you keep any of those pups? Or did you sell them all?
We kept one, but we kept one.
How did the other...
Passed away very...
Okay. All right. Did any of the pups out of that litter make coon dogs, or what kind of success did you have there?
The Cooper.
Yeah, Cooper, he's owned by Jared Lehman. He's kind of southern Indiana. I think he lacks 400 bucks from being a PKC gold champion. He's a night champion. He's been tearing it up with him. He's done really well.
Let's get with it, Jared.
Young guy. Yeah.
It's kind of hard right now because these daggone hunts are all shut down, but yeah. Let's get a gold champion out there for Lucy and Buck and Izzy.
Yeah, them two have been a good team. He's done very well. Yeah, he just sent me a text. Says, I don't like not going to these hunts. He said I need $400 and he could be done.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that we just didn't have very good luck with her being a very good mother. But she did produce Cooper, and man, he's just been on fire. And Lucy's off a hoss, so
yep.
Keeping that still in there,
keeping it in the family. Izzy,
yeah.
So when you bred to Charlie 7, that was, or did you breed to Ringo after Buck?
Ringo.
Okay. All right. How did she do with that litter? Was that, did she keep any of those pups?
I think she kept like 6, I think.
Yeah, 5 or 6 probably.
Yep. How'd that cross work out for you, Izzy?
It was okay.
Did you keep anything off of that litter?
We didn't. No.
I think we had too many dogs at the time.
Yeah.
We ended up buying one back, and his name was Rock. And it was kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. But we ended up, to get Hawk, we had to sell Rock, and then Roger Geisman got him, and Roger just, he went to doing a bunch of winning, and with Rock, he granted him out quick, and Roger's he's still doing some winning with him, so that's good to see that, Ringo and Lucy and Hoss and Charlie and Pearl, still winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Izzy, what are your plans? Are you going to be able to play ball this summer, or did they already cancel that ball season for you? Still up?
We don't know.
Okay. And it's softball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Archery in February. She's in archery in February, and then 4-H gun, and then it goes straight into softball for 5 months.
Yep. And then you've got coon hunting, and I know you're a deer hunter. You hunt deer. You do all of this stuff. Yep. You're a busy young lady, and I'm just wondering how you find time to hunt these dogs and keep them ready for the hunts. How you do all this?
Just my dad helps get them ready.
Okay.
And my uncle Sean helps sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some nights where we don't get home until 1, just getting them ready.
Right. Yep. And make sure you keep your dad awake on the road when you guys are out there hunting, okay?
Yeah.
Yep. Keep poking him in the ribs and talking to him. And the most important thing, though, is someday you're going to need to remember all these people that have helped you get involved in all this stuff and helped you with these dogs. And I think you will, because I know your dad and I know your family, and I know you're going to remember all the help you've had along the way. So
yeah.
Good luck in the future, Izzy. I hope that you have a lot of success with your hounds, and I'll be back up to see you once we can not social distance or figure something out and defeat the Kung Flu here, so that we can get together and start hunting again. Eli, I want to talk to you for a second. Can I talk to you again? You still there?
Yeah.
All right. So what are your plans for this year? What's on Eli Isch's agenda for 2020? You going to start hunting dogs in youth hunts, or what are your plans?
I think I'm too young to.
Well, it's up to you.
I don't know. I've been wanting to for a long time.
Yeah. Yep. In all your 7 years, you've been waiting for this, haven't you?
Yes.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what, that's going to come soon enough, but I bet you're going to catch some fish and ride four-wheelers and hunt when you can. Is that the plan?
Tell him what you got last night.
A brand new helmet light.
Ooh. It's not a sunspot, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, so you got a really good brand new helmet light then, right?
Yeah.
You'll have that thing worn out between catching night crawlers to fish with, shining coons across the pond dam back there and coon hunt, and you'll have that thing worn out by fall. You'll need another one.
Yeah.
Right in everybody's eyes.
Yeah.
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 Gosh.
That thing's got a laser on it, right?
Yeah, it can go 2 miles.
Yeah, lasers will actually go until they hit something. They'll go to infinity, but pretty impressive. But yeah, you probably won't be causing any trouble. Have you got any cats around there?
No.
No cats? Okay. Well,
No.
does your grandma and grandpa or anything have any cats?
No.
Do you go to anybody's house that has cats? I'm trying to give
No.
you something to do here. All right, if you see a cat,
No.
if you see a cat, you shine that laser out in front of that cat about 3 or 4 feet, and he'll chase that little red dot all over the place. It's crazy. Yep.
Me, Mom, and Izzy were riding 4-wheelers, and we went through a one path, and there was a cat, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So you do see cats around there occasionally. All right, buddy. Well, hey,
Yeah.
like I told Izzy, I'll be, as soon as we get through this coronavirus stuff, I want to get up there and hunt with you guys and see you again. So,
Yeah.
Seth, we talked a little bit. We started down the road, talking about the future of hunting and things we're seeing. Right now is a pretty perilous time for our culture and our country. But UKC has shut down all operations and everything like that. And I asked you this question before. We've talked about this before. But what do you see happening if competition coon hunting doesn't exist anymore?
I'm still going to coon hunt. Just we all enjoy it, and just kind of a peaceful, relaxing time, or try to make it that. If it all stopped, tomorrow, the competition-wise, I'd still go, and still keep my kids going and try to keep, a tradition going that, my grandpa started, years ago. Kind of go on that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
you
guys do a tribute hunt for him up there, and I'd like to talk about that.
Yeah. We my grandpa, he'd been my mom's dad. He got my dad and several people into coon hunting, he didn't competition hunt. He got his boys, all 4 of his boys, into hunting, but he didn't competition hunt. He just hide hunted. And he supported his family, like in the wintertime. That's how he supported them. And he slaughtered the coon back then, and didn't have these style of dogs now. He probably wouldn't approve of them,
right?
But if to me, if it wouldn't have been for him, none of this would ever have happened. With me hunting and winning and going with my uncle and my dad, taking my kids, it just, I don't ever see it, happen.
Right.
But so about 2005, he passed away, I think in 02 or 03. I think it was 03, and I thought, I got to think about it. So we put together a little memorial hunt at my place, and there was 10, 12 people come over and had some food, just had a little shed there,
right?
And did that for a couple of years. Then I built a barn there at our other place where we lived at, and we moved it in there. Of course, the hunt grew, and now we're going on, this will be year 15 for it, and it's just grown and grown. Where I'm at now, got a bigger barn, and this year that barn was full of people. We have kind of like a buffet line for food, and just a good time to get together and hear some old stories from back. I never got to hunt with him, but he was retired and didn't hunt anymore, just gotten too old. But to hear them stories from my dad hunted with him a lot, but to hear them old stories, hunting with a lantern, one of them big 2-cell flashlights, and what he drove. He always drove an old car, and dogs in the back and, stuff like that. But, to hear them guys sit there and talk, and man, you can hear a pin drop some of them nights to them stories going on, just, the old days and, no worries. But it's kind of probably my favorite hunt that we had, memorial hunt we had was, I think it was 3 years ago. It was me and my uncle. He don't hunt or nothing. He would just go along. And my cousin and me and Izzy. And there was another cousin was along. And we all pack in these vehicles. There's usually about 10 big groups of hunters that go out. And there's guys that stay back and play cards. And we try to be back. We got to be back at 11. And we was about halfway through this hunt. And I turned my Susie female loose. She was, what is she going to be, 12 here, but I've done a lot of winning with her over the years. She's tied right there with the best I ever had. Mm-hmm. And we cut her loose, and man, she just goes down the edge of this woods right off the road, strikes, comes tree. And hey, don't get no easier than this. So we pull up, and I told my uncle, I said, hey, your turn to shoot. Nah, go ahead. Well, that put Izzy on her turn to shoot, and we go walking in there, and I hollered back. It was kind of lagging behind. I hollered back, and told him, I said, hurry up, come up here. Walked up there, and there sat albino coon. And she had a regular coon, regular colored coon on there also. But what a perfect night, to tree an albino coon and, on that memorial hunt.
Yeah.
For my grandpa. And so we shot him out. Of course, we got to go the rest of the night, and try to tree some more coon. We're wanting to get back, to show everybody.
Right.
So we come back, and we all, each group gets their coon, weighed in, and then at the end, we just put like, a little piece of paper in there. One says biggest, one says smallest. Well, whatever gets drawn out, that's who wins, whatever is given away.
Mm-hmm.
And we weighed all of ours in, and Izzy went outside and got that albino coon, out of the truck, and I had her standing there at the door. The door was shut. I said, well, I think we might have one more to weigh in. Well, everybody thought, we had a great big coon. Mm-hmm. And I opened that door up, and there stood Izzy holding that white coon.
Yeah.
And, man, that place went wild.
Wow.
But what a perfect way,
mm-hmm.
And what a perfect night. We'd actually treed that albino coon, and it was just a baby. It was like beginning of July, 3 years prior to that.
I'm surprised it lived that long.
He was he'd have been the next woods over. So, he's probably about 400 yards from the original woods that we'd treat him in, a little sapling. I thought it was a possum, and Izzy thought it was a cat. He's walking in there. I said, heck, that's an albino coon. But
typical English dog style, trashing on anything that'll climb.
3-inch trash.
Yeah.
But no, that there's been one that, man, just, what a perfect night to do it, to honor my grandpa. And so we got him mounted, and he's out there in the barn in our little man cave. So, but yeah, it's, I just, thank everybody that's helped me over the years, and, family, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we kind of went down a dark road there earlier with, what would happen if the competition hunts went away. But this is a perfect example of what can continue regardless of what happens with, dog registries or business or whatever. I mean, you don't need a business in
mm-hmm.
order to do great things like this. You have a memorial hunt for a hound legend that has gotten how many generations now? 4 generations of people into hunting. And we had Sid Underwood on, UKC rep and things from Texas. He's an author, wrote a book, but he talked about the old days of the Texas state hunt and how it was more of a rendezvous, like the old fur trappers rendezvous. And as long as there are houndsmen and there are hunters, that is always going to be there. We're always going to be able to do that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I think it's awesome. I think that's probably, for me in my stage of hound hunting right now, Seth, I want to know when that hunt is. That's the hunt that I want to go to. The other stuff, I've been there. haven't always, I've been to a lot of the bigger events and stuff, but that sort of stuff is going to keep hunting on the landscape and in the future for us, regardless of whether you can compete for trophies or whatever. Those sort of things will. How can you go wrong with that? It's a family or family event. You've got your kids there. What an awesome deal. So when is that? When is that Memorial Hunt?
That's usually sometime in November. It's usually when we try to have it. It's kind of we go to Tennessee for a week deer hunting. So it's we kind of got a plan, around that. But it's usually sometime in November. And there's people there that didn't even know him, but they know me, or my dad, or and they just kind of come there to to honor him and enjoy some good BS and food and just it's a good time. There's been nights we've walked out of that barn, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, just sit out there talking and it's fun. And but everybody always looks forward to it every year. So
make sure you
have to come up.
Make sure you keep me in the loop. We'll stay in contact. But I'm serious. I'd love to come up there and attend that hunt. I know, like Matt Lingo and Limberlost does a Fred Lingo Memorial Hunt. People that have really made an impact on the sport, and they get a good gathering there. But we don't always give enough press for that. It's never miss the opportunity to post a picture of a Winter Classic champion or stuff like that. That's all important, but we don't get enough press for these types of events that I think are going to be the mainstay into the future of our lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think another thing is, and I'm guilty of it as well, is, if we don't try to, if these organizations don't try to get, some more youth events going, I don't know. It's not to sound depressing, but, it's kind of dying off. I just feel like we probably should do more, to get some of these kids involved, because me and you ain't going to be here forever,
right.
To keep hunting. And it's get them off the games and get them in the woods. And I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to some people and see what we can do to try to get some more youth involved.
I'll make a comment on that. I had Gene Hopkins. We hosted. Gene Hopkins was a guest, and I went up and interviewed him because I've known Gene for years. But he's with the Indiana Sportsman's Roundtable, and right now, if you can get enough doom and gloom by watching the news, there's no doubt. But this is one of the things that we talked about. I personally think, and Gene has seen it too, that hunting has swung in that pendulum as far as it can go. That pendulum is going to start swinging back. We are seeing, people in their 20s and 30s and things like that are looking for opportunities to hunt. Backcountry hunters and anglers has taken off, and their main demographic that they're drawn in are their 20-some-year-old, early 30-some-year-old people that are coming to hunting. Lauren Verani, one of our team members here, she didn't start hunting until her late 20s. She adopted a blue tick hound from a pound up there because she wanted a companion dog, and the dog started treeing squirrels, so she did her research, and now she's bear hunting, coon hunting. We were in Arizona this past year on a lion hunt, and she's all right. She is neck deep in it. She bought a farm. She's got 5 hounds now. She's really into it. So I think there's a lot of hope on the horizon for us. The other thing that I really believe, and this is an observation that I've had the last week. When you drive through your community later today, look around. Families are together. Kids are playing outside. People are actually breaking the ground and planting gardens. The older men are sitting on the adult men are sitting on the porch. If they live in town, they're still talking to their neighbors from the porch swing over to the next porch swing. I think this is a golden opportunity for our culture to recapture some of the things that have made this country so great. And I think that is right at our fingertips, and we can capitalize on this. And I think hunting can even capitalize on it more, because I don't care if there's beef in the refrigerated section at Kroger. I know how to get meat, and I can butcher my own right here. So
you got some goats?
Well, we don't have any goats anymore, but if it comes down to it, I was in the business long enough. I know how to poach. If it comes down to that.
Yeah.
When it gets to that point,
agree.
when it comes to that point, God put this landscape on the face of the earth for us to use, and all us country boys, hunters, fishers, anglers, we know how to make food out of this land, and we can feed this country on that if we have to.
Yeah, I agree. And, like you said, just the last few days, I've been off work here, and just doing some stuff around the house and, fishing and just kind of enjoying it out here. It kind of makes it, not saying this going on is good, but kind of makes it nice to slow down and just enjoy, a slower pace, and kind of like, your grandma and grandpa, the way they was, just not running all over and, nonstop on the go.
Right.
So,
well, you talked about games. Okay. So here's what happened. I'm guilty of this too. So you're going to work all day. Your wife's gone to work. Both, a lot of families are dual income families. So mom and dad are both working all day. You go to baseball practice with your daughter, and she takes, your son to someplace else, and you come home and you pass each other, and then it's like, whew, man, I'm worn out. So the kids aren't worn out yet. They're getting there. But so what do? They go in and they play the Xbox, or they play the PlayStation. And a lot of people get in that rut and that habit. But what we're seeing now is mom and dad are home all day now, because I know several people that aren't going to work just like you. And they look at it and they think, you are not sitting in front of that TV all day. And they force them to go outside, and now kids are finding out, hey, riding a bike's not too bad. Going fishing isn't too bad. Playing with the neighbor kids isn't too bad. And if you're playing baseball or if you play badminton, you can social distance during badminton.
yeah, no kidding.
Maybe that sport will really take off again. Oh, man.
But it is a good wake-up call for everybody.
I think it is.
I mean, it really is.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. And, you're getting to spend some good time together, and which we always do. It's, usually evenings we go hunting, and especially in the summertime when the kids are off. But, I guess this is pretty much summer now. So,
Yeah.
They try to keep me out too late at night and get up too early in the morning, but now relax for a while. So
I think our kids, and we're going to look back on this thing 20 years from now, but our kids will remember this time in their life, and I bet they'll remember it if they're being involved in the things your kids are. I think Izzy and Eli will look back on it and say, you know what, it was a rough time. I realize that now, but it was probably one of the best times I ever had. And I heard that from my grandfather during the Depression, and people that I know that lived during those times. They didn't know they were in trouble. They were just living life, and they enjoyed it. So I think it'll be, when we get on the other side of this thing, I think it's going to be a great thing. We needed this somebody to hit the reset button on this culture.
Well, they hit her.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hey, we've preached on that enough, and Seth, I'm serious. We try to bring the most dedicated houndsmen to this show to share their stories with our audience, and I've always considered you to be one of those guys. Regardless if you'd ever won any hunt at all, just your dedication to your breeding programs and the way that you're carrying on these traditions and the things that you do within the coon hunting community. You are a guy that I definitely, and I talked to you about this a long time ago. We were going to do it face to face up there and do a sit down, but with the social distancing and the challenges we have, this is a good time. And I'm really, really happy that you let Seth and Eli and Izzy sit in on this interview, because I really enjoy them.
Yeah, we've enjoyed also. Izzy, I told her last night he's going to be calling. She was all wound up. So
Good.
Yeah, this also will be something they remember forever.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they were here to to hunt with my Susie dog. And the different dogs that I've had. Crow. They've got to go along with me to these world hunts and autumn oaks. And English days when we've placed and stuff and. Keep them involved, get your picture taken, and it's been good. It's been good for me too. I definitely life changing. When you get kids and try to hunt and all that stuff. But with them being involved, that sure makes it a lot more fun and a little easier to leave at night and go. So.
And if your kids are involved and your family's involved, it makes it it's easier to justify being involved. That's one thing with my daughter, and I burned my son out at an early age because I was way over the top on that stuff. But and he was just a different personality. But Cora was like Izzy. If I was headed out of the driveway that night, if I stopped the truck in the driveway because I forgot something in the house, I could count on coming back out, and she had snuck out and was sitting in the seat of that truck saying, "I'm ready." And she didn't let me leave very often without having her in the truck. And I love to hear that about your kids. So, Izzy, I know you're excited about talking to me. I guarantee you this will not be the last time that you're on the Houndsman XP podcast. As long as yeah. You're welcome, Eli, and it's not your last time either. Next time we do this, we'll sit down with the headsets on, and we'll sit there and have another conversation, maybe after we hunt or something. What do you think? You guys like that idea?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Seth, you got any parting shots, anything you want to shout out to the audience? This thing will go out to about 3,500 people.
Yeah, just I appreciate you guys having this and giving me the opportunity to be on it, and hopefully all this stuff passes by as far as health wise, and everybody stays healthy and keep them in the woods.
Yep, you got it, man. Well, we have a tradition around here, and the way we close out all these podcasts, and I'll just throw this out to Eli and Izzy too. I'm going to come up for that memorial hunt in November, and if we go hunting together and we turn those dogs loose, we line them up there. If my dog goes one way and your dog goes another way, you follow your hounds and I'll follow mine.